Hi, I'm Linda Deir, the author of Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. Guided is my true life story and winner of the 2017 International Body, Mind, Spirit Book Award. Since before I was 2 years old, I've seen, communicated with, and even photographed my spirit guide angels. In Guided, I use my own life as a template to teach you what I learned from these loving, intelligent spirits. Most importantly, I show you how to make the connection to your own spirit guides and angels so you can live a guided life, a life free of fear and doubt, the life you intended to live before you got here. In my guided journey, the companion journal to Guided, Part 2, page 16, I will talk about time alone, reconnecting to us. You have come back to the beginning where it all began before you forgot about your time with us. Your life is filled with distractions from chasing things. You realize you need to create some time alone. This is where we reside and can reach you. So let's get started. Searching and questioning everything required time alone. However, with everything required from you as a new adult, it's difficult to find the time to do this. Time alone was the only way back to us, but you have already harnessed that. Adjusting to your adult life requires that you focus on what is expected of you in school, your job, and your relationships. Change has happened on all fronts, and the last thing you have time for is time alone. We haven't gone anywhere and are there when you are open. In spite of your lack of time and focus to continue pursuing connecting to us and ultimately yourself, you are receiving our messages through your heightened awareness. Your demanding schedule did not ruin the opportunities to get direction and guidance when you need it. These insights are coming through when you're driving, in the shower, doing mindless things of any kind, including what you receive in your dreams. In fact, now that you are so preoccupied with day-to-day demands, we are ever more present. It shows up when you're not expecting it. The journal writing you did in your teens comes to mind. To harness the power of your intuition, having a journal to continue writing these intuitive insights into will make you more alert in both worlds, this one and the one you came from. In fact, it's never been more important to do your journal writing than at this very busy, chaotic time in your life. By the way, this is how many best-selling books were written. Although you feel stretched to your limits, in many ways, this is when your intuition performs best. It's lightning fast. In fact, it's much faster and more efficient than you could ever be without it. Unlike what you learned in your teens, in your time alone, when you harnessed your intuition, it's now time to master acting on it. All you need to do to actively tap into this intelligence is to take a moment to practice these very simple steps. Take a moment to let yourself completely relax. Breathe. And let the answers or knowledge come through to you. I did not say it came from you, but through you, from where you have connections in high places. Write the messages into your journal the moment they come through, or this timely guidance will dissipate and you will miss it. Now that you have harnessed this valuable information that came from some other place, you need to act on it. All guidance has a shelf life. You must use it before you lose it. This is where many people choke up. They receive it, write it into their journal, but fail to act on it. That's like getting a letter with an important message that has an expiration date that you fail to act on while it's still valid. So just when you thought you could do no more because of your demanding schedule, your intuition is working better than it ever has. You are receiving messages from beyond you faster than ever. This gives you the advantage if you don't take it for granted. You have to continue writing it all down into your journal. Expect to have this journal tethered to you everywhere you go. It's your connection to the world you came from and where you will always get the truth. It helps you in the here and now as you continue to develop your intuitive muscles. For who knows what's to come as you become so much more than you were just the day before. It all has a life of its own. A great life as you pay attention and trust yourself so you can take the action.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Ray. And like normal, Ray's going to ask me some pointed questions about what I just talked about. And that part in part 2, page 16, time alone in my guided journey, the journey part of the journal.
Be careful, don't call me normal. Okay?
Well, we know
You sound
that,
like
Ray.
normal.
We know that you're not
Don't jump to
normal.
that conclusion. Okay. I have a lot of questions today as I studied your script. It was very good, and it reminded me a lot of what I went through moving into, I liked how you put it, new adult. Okay? So I'm going to get to some new adult questions in a minute, but can you explain to me and to those in our studio audience the difference between alone and lonely?
Okay, so alone. Let me go to lonely first. When you're lonely, that's what makes you start to search. You feel lonely, you know something's missing. And you feel lonely because you don't know that anybody's there. You think you're all alone, all right? When you spend time alone, the difference is that it's an intentional act. You spend the time alone because you need that quiet time to read that book or investigate whatever you're looking into or whatever it happens to be, or you just want to, say, meditate. You just need some time alone. You need to come back up for air. So that's what the difference is. One is where you're fearful that you are alone, and then when you spend that time alone, you actually make that connection to your guides and realize you've never been alone. And you don't feel lonely anymore, not once you make that connection, the real connection.
So lonely's a feeling, and alone is kind of like a state of being.
A state of feeling lonely is an emotion.
Okay.
Okay. And when you're in your alone time, you're listening to your feelings, your truth center. Okay, so the emotions are of this world where we're living in illusions, like the illusion that you are lonely, that you are alone, all right? When you are never alone, they are always with you, your spirit guides and angels. It's just that we have tuned them out because we've been bombarded with all the other noise and distractions. So that's all it is. That's why time alone is where you make that connection.
All right, I was thinking about this afternoon why it's so difficult for people to create alone time. And it kind of dawned on me when you said the new adult person is out of high school, they went to college, they have a job, they're in new relationships. Could getting away from the family, okay, moving out, getting away from the family, make you feel alone, and that's why you want to avoid it?
Avoid what?
Being alone. All of a sudden, you're out by yourself.
Okay, because it's new.
Right.
You're just not used to being. You're not used to being out on your own, and you confuse it with loneliness. When really all that happened is, you hit a crossroads a while back in Guided. We talk about the crossroads, and you hit a crossroads, and it's just time for you to branch out on your own. Things are new. You know, you're like your legs are not solid underneath you. You're getting your sea legs underneath you. You're not sure about things. You don't know who's lying to you and who's not. You just don't know where the traps are, you know. So that's really...
You knew who the liars were in your family.
Maybe you didn't. Maybe. I mean, it's all about doing the inner work, you guys. Like in your early teens, when you wrote down things that you had to remember because you wanted to remember, because it was so important to you. It had no value in school. It had no value to friends. And in fact, they might even laugh at you, but they had a great deal of value to you because they were like the glue that kept you together while you were figuring out the rest of it. So that's the journaling I was talking about. You may not have used a journal, you know, a formal journal to do it in, but you did it nevertheless. You may have written it in the back of your history book. You did something to get that out on paper so you wouldn't lose it, okay? And what were you going to lose? You weren't going to lose yourself as it's beginning to show up, the real you.
So when you're younger, before you get to this new adult stage, the guidance is more like a protection mechanism for you.
When you're younger.
Right.
Well, how do you mean that?
Because you're not telling anybody. You're using it to look at people, to take
Right.
things for what they really are, to
Right.
try not to take things personally.
You mean you're actually doing that when you're younger? You think you are?
You're learning it.
You're learning it.
Right.
Well, maybe you're not. Maybe you never had the opportunity, the foresight, the insight to connect with that, where you could start out that way. Okay? If you started out where you didn't start out taking things personally, and you didn't, so you didn't need other people's approval. I mean, you knew what was right or wrong for yourself, and you were your own compass, your gauge. You were the one you looked to for answers when you got quiet in that alone time and your guides could reach you, and you just knew it. It came through you, and you knew it.
Okay?
All right?
So as this new adult, you don't want to be alone. You don't want to feel lonely. And you start to fill up all your time with activities so you don't have to be alone. But the guidance and the intuition's always coming in.
Okay.
100% of that. They always say they're always broadcasting.
Right.
All right? Okay. So this just becomes a habit. Could this become a lifelong habit where you kind of avoid listening to it because you're busy coming up with activities? Distractions, so you don't feel alone?
Okay. So you're trying to fill, what Ray's saying is you're trying to fill a cup that's really already full. Except you didn't realize it was full because it didn't seem to be right here in your physical world, all right? You lost your connection to the place that you came from, the world that you came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your question around that is?
Well, if they're always broadcasting and you're always chasing activities and distractions to
so they're
get
sending,
you away from
so they're sending you messages while you're busying up your life. So it makes it harder to hear, or if you do hear it, it's almost like, annoying. You've got other things you're doing, that kind of thing.
So my question, I think a good question would be, if they're always broadcasting 100% of the time and you're always distracted 100% of the time,
right?
What percentage of their guidance do you think you miss?
Well, let me put it to you like this. When you're really sharp and you know how to connect with the guidance, and I'm really good at it from a lifetime of having them with me and knowing they were there and communicating with them and having the advantage of the guidance they sent me in a timely way, okay, just when I needed it. I probably miss it 90% of the time. Okay? 90%? Me? So how much of the time do you think you miss it? I mean, you miss it most of the time, all right?
Yeah.
Because it's coming through all the time, you guys. It's not that I'm going to say that we always miss it. It's that when that great idea comes through, or that warning comes through, or that just that feeling where don't buy carrots at the store this time. You walk through the store and you go, not carrots tonight, this time, but celery or something like that. You kind of just let your body be your compass. You just trust what you feel and know. Do you always do that? Or do you lean into those potato chips and go, I'm going to get those potato chips and put them in the basket, right? Okay. You should go to bed at 9 o'clock so you can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But do you actually go to bed at 9 o'clock? You really intend to. I mean, yeah, I know I feel it. I know I'm guided. I feel it. And I need to get more rest. And you don't do it. So what happens is it all starts to build up and compound to the point where our life becomes difficult. I mean, we become worn out, run down, impatient, snappy. We don't want to go to work. We don't care about certain things. We're not eating right anymore because we are too tired to go to the store to buy the right food. It all compounds. So that's how we get off track. That's how it goes. And it works against us when we don't listen. And most of the time we're not listening because we have something else in mind. That will catch up to all of us.
You're kind of focused on the chaos of the moment. Whatever's going on right now.
Yep, that's true.
So I think you're being generous. You said you miss it 90% of the time when you pick it up, 10%. I made a couple notes here. I think people miss it 80% of the time. They maybe get it 20% of the time.
No, I didn't say that right. I said they miss it 90% of the time.
Okay.
So I was less generous than you.
Okay.
Because you see, I know that when I look back, and I write my dreams down, and Ray and I talk about our dreams in the morning. It's the first thing we do, and we do all that. But sometimes the phones start ringing, and off we go, and there's no time to really go there and go, oh, that dream. Let's talk to the guides about this. Let's find out what this is. We don't always have time to do that, but it doesn't mean the message wasn't delivered. We got the mail, okay? But we may not have utilized it. You guys, if you just focused on it, it would be just like this. It'd be no problem. You don't have a problem. Your distractions are overwhelming. It's that your priorities are wrong. They work against everything that would be good for you, that you need, all right?
Okay, so in this new adult stage of your life, you said your intuition's working better than it ever has, even though you're not listening as much.
No, that's not true. Some people do, Ray.
Okay,
but
I said, it's getting better. Your intuition's getting stronger, or you're getting intuitive hits more often.
I don't think that you get them more often, or any of that.
Okay.
I think here's what I think the difference is, from my own experience, is I delved into it. I really kept my eye on that stuff when I was a kid. So when I went out as a young adult and started my life, the intuition was developed so well from, doing my journaling. That's why I know it works. And just connecting with the guides that I knew were always there for me in my particular situation. And so since they were always there for me when I stepped out on my own, my life really worked well. I couldn't believe how good it worked. And everyone else is going, wow, Linda, you have this really great intuition. How come you have that? And I didn't even realize, I didn't even think about it as intuition. I was so used to just being one with my guides, and all this energy. So for me, it was not like I switched something on. I had already been doing all that. That's why I said the journal writing that you do in your teens, when you go in there in your quiet place, when you start to go within and you realize your friends really aren't your friends and stuff like that. The only one that you have left is you. And so you start doing this, and then you realize you are connected and you are not alone. That's why this is important. I know it because I've lived it. And when you put that together really well, before you go out on your own as a young adult, you have it all. Now, as you move into your life, you've got all this energy. You've got this great intuition that you've harnessed from when you were younger, when you were doing your journaling. And you've really graduated, but you just didn't realize it. And you've got all that working for you. Now, are you going to listen to it and let that guide you to where it's trying to show you and point you in the right direction? True north would be ideal. But off center a little bit, we're always like moving off center a little bit and moving back into true north. But that's what they're there for. So when you're at that height, that 18, 19, 20-year-old time in your life, pow, you are on fire. You have the advantage. But the only thing that could go wrong is if when you get the intuition, you don't write it into your journal. You become, you take it for granted. You don't appreciate it. You're used to it. You expect it. And then after a while, you don't know what the intuition is that's coming through you as opposed to when it's coming from you. What's coming from you as opposed to what's being sent to you. That is why you have to write it in your journal and keep track of it so you don't get cocky, you know? And then you'll lose it. It's that easy to lose. It's powerful, but it's easy to have it slip through your fingers, all right? It's easy to miss if you take it for granted.
Okay. Along that same line of your this time of your life, your inner intuition's working better.
Really well.
Okay, so it's always been working, but it's working better.
Now you have a use for it.
Right. Okay. Now my question is, do you think that your intuition seems to get better because you are now alone, out on your own, and you have to become sharper?
Okay, it could be that, what Ray said. That's one side of it. The other side of it would be, now that you're not distracted by your brothers, your sisters, the dog, the cat, the mom, the dad, the cousin, the uncle, the blah, 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 all the birthdays, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving, all this stuff that goes on, the chaos. You have a new life now. It's not that you don't visit them, but you don't live with them. So you've got your quiet time back, your alone time, okay, some peaceful time. That when you used it under those conditions, when you were living under in the family home, there was still the chaos and everything going on, but you still connected. You still wrote, maybe not in a formal journal, but you were writing down what mattered to you, what you were feeling, what was coming through. Now you can just write it down without all that chaos going on. So one or the other. It could be from one side or the other. Yeah.
So do you think that anybody catches 100% of it, that you would have to be listening 100% of the time to get it all? That's all you do all day?
You know, here's what that would be like, and I'll try to explain it like this. When we come into this life, when we come in from the other world, when we're babies, new people, we do not bring all of our energy with us. If we brought all of our energy with us, we'd flame out. We could never maintain, we have to ratchet ourselves down, our energy. We can only bring part of it in, or we would explode. Our physical form couldn't handle it. So, your question was?
So would you have to listen 100% of the time, be listening for the intuition 100% to get it all?
I got it, Ray. So it would be like bringing all of your energy here, and your body couldn't handle it, so you wouldn't be here, all right? You can't sit down and listen to all the guidance coming through 100%. You could never write that fast. You could never comprehend it that fast. You had to dumb yourself down. Let's put it in plain terms. To be here.
Just to come here.
Just to exist in this form.
Okay.
In the physical form. I say dumb yourself down. What I mean by that is you left most of your energy where you came from because your body can't take it all. It couldn't handle it physically. So you have to dumb yourself down when I say that. I mean that when you're not in physical form, wow. You are unlimited, totally unlimited. You're unlimited here, but you didn't bring all of you with you, okay? Because this is the third dimension. This is the physical world. This is what you decided to experience for a certain period of time in the time continuum, all right? You came from this continuum over here. You're traveling through this continuum right here in the physical form, and then you move on to the continuum, which is where you came from. Okay, same thing, and the cycle goes around and around. And that's why, no, you won't catch it all. But you will catch the parts that when you actually catch it, it's still no good to you unless you write it down, all right? You got to write it down. You will start getting lazy and sloppy with it. You'll start just going, yep, I get it all the time, and I get it all the time. You've heard people say that, and then you'll hear people say, I used to get that intuition all the time, and I don't get it anymore. I don't know what happened. This is what happened. This is what didn't happen. They didn't write it down. They took it for granted. And so they just it started to become one. It started to meld, where they didn't know if the intuition was not intuition, but just them, or if it was indeed intuition coming through. That's why that's so important to keep writing in your journal.
Do you think people, when their intuition works out, they kind of pat themselves on the back and think about, well, I came up with that, and when it doesn't work out, they look for somebody to blame?
That happens all the time, right?
Does it?
Yeah, that's this world. Okay, This world over here, the one you came from, can spot that in a heartbeat. It knows. It's the BS detector over here. All right. It sees right through all that.
The better spirit detector over here.
Right. Yeah.
So just on a side note there, the rest of your energy that you left behind somewhere, that's actually your higher self kind of babysitting.
Looking out for you. It resides. It's always with you. And you've got layers of guidance, you guys. You've got so much help. If only you begin to realize it and step into it, your life will change forever. You'll look back on the life you lived and go, wow, I mean, really, that life was never meant to be that hard. That's what you'll see.
Okay, let's talk about this shelf life stuff here. How do you judge shelf life? Isn't some guidance immediate and some kind of long term?
Yeah, and how do you know the difference?
Good question. I wish I wrote that down.
You did write that down? Okay, so how do you know the difference? Tell me how you know the difference. Short term versus guidance for a longer view. How do you know? Because it's all about timing in this world, right, Ray?
Right, because you're constrained by time. I would say something immediate. An immediate form of guidance is you're standing on a curb at a red light in a busy city, and you're daydreaming about your next meeting. You're going to get to your next meeting, and the light turns to walk. Okay, you can walk, and you get an intuitive hit that says, "Don't get off the curb."
Hesitate,
and a cab comes flying by and would hit you.
Okay, right.
That's an immediate type of response.
Right.
You have to act on that right now.
Right.
Long term.
And wait. When you got that immediate response, what was it? Was it here? Was it here? Was it here?
No, it was like a gut feeling.
Okay.
Telling you should not, don't move.
See how men talk? This is how men describe it.
It's because we're so macho.
You are not, Ray. Anyway, you get it's a gut feeling. It's the truth center. Okay, it's the solar plexus. It's the center of your body between here and the ground. Okay, this is the truth center. So you get that feeling. You know how you feel that I felt my stomach turn or flip. Or you feel it in here. Okay, or you'll just get a wave where you just whoa. You might even feel a little dizzy for a minute. Stop. Okay, let the information come through. Let it finish. It's trying to reach you. All right? So it's not something that should ever scare you because it's just your GPS working really well. So that's what you do. You just let it come through and you trust it and you take the pause and you pay attention. like Ray just said.
So that's the short term. That's the immediate. Here's your guidance.
That's where you're going to feel it. That's where you're going to feel it. Or that's where you're going to feel it. All right? Go ahead.
All right, something more long term. Let's say, what would be a good example? Oh, you want to take a job in another city. Okay? You know you're going to quit your job soon, and you're going to move to another city and take another job. But you have real estate to sell. So your guidance could be, well, you need to sell your real estate. Now that could be the guidance. You need to sell your real estate.
Okay.
Now that's kind of a
open
time frame because it takes a long time to sell your real estate.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to when in Guided, when I talk about the part where I got in real estate. I was guided to get in real estate, and I did so good at it in the early 70s. And there came a moment when real estate was white hot. I had subdivisions going. We had custom homes going and big projects we were framing and all kinds of. We were really loaded down with real estate, rental properties, personal homes and stuff. And the guides come through to me one day when the market was white hot, and they said, "Sell all your real estate. Don't buy any more land into the future, because in the building business, you're out 18 months to 2 years before you can even start building on your lots after you develop them into lots. So you're out maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of you." So I had to offload everything I had. Now, as far as the timing goes, I knew that when they told me it's sell your real estate, and the market was white hot, and there was absolutely nobody who would even imagine getting out of the business at that point, I started selling everything off. I didn't replace it. I didn't buy new land. I didn't invest in new projects. And my competition said, "Why aren't you, what are you building next, Linda?" And I said, "Nothing." And they said, "What? Why?" And I said, "Because there's going to be a real estate crash." Now, I was 25 at the time, 24 at the time.
The age of their children.
Pretty much. And they said, "A real estate crash? What are you talking about?" And they laughed at me. Okay. This was a man's world at the time. The building.
And they blew some cigar smoke at you.
Well, yeah. I mean, they treated me like their secretaries.
Right.
They were delusional. So anyway, I was selling it took me 18 months to get out from underneath all of my real estate. The real estate market crashed 3 months after I sold my last property. So that's
even cutting it pretty close. That's 21 months.
That's cutting it close. But and I had to fit a divorce into that at the same time, because he became a huge liability. I mean, the things he was doing was over the edge. If you read Guided, you'll know the story. It's all in there. But it tells you how I moved through all this with my guidance, guiding me through it, and just staying sharp and having my time out so I could journal what the heck was going on and see what was going on, because it was with a divorce going on, there were emotions, okay? And when emotions start to kick in, you guys, man, this journal becomes your lifeline. This is the only sober thing that you'll have in your life, right here, where you tell the truth.
Okay, so you got some long-term guidance that said sell everything.
Yeah, because the guides knew they couldn't give me short notice.
Right,
because they saw my dilemma.
My question, exactly. So they saw that in a certain length of time, you needed to be out.
They did.
Okay. What was the first thing you did after you got that guidance?
I sat back. I stopped. I was disappointed. All right. Who wouldn't be? I was flying high, man. I was a superstar at that time, and I was doing so well. Who would want that to end?
Yeah.
All right.
Wouldn't most people kind of doubt the guidance if it was white hot?
Here's my description of my reaction to it. I think most people did. I think other people got guidance, Ray, just like I did, but they didn't. They were like, "No, okay, it's inconvenient."
The greed got in the way.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can see how that could happen.
This is the best real estate market we've had in 10 years.
They convince themselves. All right. When we want something, we will make stuff up. Oh my God. Again, that's why it's critical to keep the journal. It keeps you from kidding yourself. But in my particular case, I could, when I got guidance from my guides, you guys, in guiding, the book I wrote, I talk about how I learned this at such a young age, how they saved my life at 20 months old, how they made every sense out of everything in my life that made no sense in this life, all right? And they showed me how to handle these things so I would actually become more from it, not bitter from it, not angry and mad from it, not destroyed from it, all right? So in my particular case, I had this history, this track record with my guides. When I got guidance from them, I might take a breath. I might sit back and go, oh, okay, and capture my breath. But I always knew that their guidance was right on. I always knew it. And what I really knew is that it had a shelf life. You don't mess around with it. You act on it. And I acted on it so that by the time it did play out, I just barely got out of it before it all crashed.
So the point being is, if you get some long-term guidance, like they told you to sell everything, you didn't go out and sell everything the next day, but you did.
I methodically worked through it.
Right. So the important thing is,
to work.
If you can't do the final thing you have to do, sell everything, you should, let's say it wasn't a whole business. Let's say you have a house to sell, just one house.
Right.
They tell you you're going to get a new job, you need to sell your real estate. Well, the next day, maybe you're not going to sell your real estate, but you might start interviewing agents.
Right.
You
put your feelers out.
You need to do something. You need to take some kind of action that sets you off in that direction.
Okay, here's what you do. How do you start? That's what Ray's saying. How do you start in taking action on the guidance? What you do is you take 1 foot and put it out there. You take one action and you follow through on it. You make that call. You get that information. You write out what you want to know when you do make that call, so you get all your questions answered. And then you write down the answers to those questions. And then you look at it, literally. And then you go, oh, now that you have this information, guidance will come through and give you more intuition, broadcast more timely information to you that you will have with this new information to put the next foot out there. And the next foot, putting it out there, taking the next step, is way easier than the first step was. And then the step after that, you guys, it's, once I got the information and it sat me down and I was like, oh my God, party's over, all right? Now I've got to start unwinding. I've got to start recoiling from all this. Now, add this to it. I was a superstar. I was looked up to. I was getting interviewed everywhere. I'm going, wow, this is crazy why this is all happening. I mean, I didn't plan it like this. It just happened, you know. It didn't really just happen, but I followed my guidance and it happened, right? That's really what happened. But everyone, they started really noticing me at just about the time the market was going to crash. I started getting noticed. And it was all going to fall apart. It was all over. I had no time for this media attention. I was so busy, you know, figuring out how to sell this and how to go about getting that sold and getting that project finished. I was under construction on a lot of stuff. I had to finish building so I could sell it, and pre-sales, and make sure that everything went down smoothly and everything was, you know, I mean, it took a lot.
Took one step at a time.
And that's all I did. As soon as I came out of shock I'm going to say the shock lasted about an hour. I started imagining how I would take it down, okay, piece by piece. And it's always the first step. You take the first step. After that, it's a snowball effect.
And that wasn't the only time in the book, this is in the book, that wasn't the only time that you got guidance that said,
get in and get
sell
out.
your business now.
Or get into the business now.
Right.
They guided me to get in and out at the right time. So my time for getting in, even though it didn't appear to be good timing to anybody else, was perfect, all right? And the timing to get out, although it didn't look like the right time to get out, was perfect, okay? And so they see things you can't. That's the whole point.
When you owned the first internet ISP in northern Arizona, they told you, something came up and told you, well, hey, this is the time to get in because this is going to be this internet thing's going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Right.
And you had it for several years, and all of a sudden they said you need to sell it.
Immediately.
Sell it immediately, and you sold it. You made an effort right away.
Right.
To try to find a buyer, right?
Yeah.
And then you found a broker to broker the business,
Right.
and it sold. And a year later, what happened?
The market crashed.
The .com crash.
Right.
You couldn't have been. You wouldn't have sold it.
If you just see, this is why I know. They may put you on a path. The guides may suggest something to you. Again, you always have free will. You do not have to act on this guidance. It's your free will. You came here to live this life, not your guides. So this is your life to live. You can live this life and follow the guidance and pay attention to the guidance and act on it in a timely way and watch your life work. Okay? Or you can just go ho-hum to the guidance and watch yourself struggle until you go, I don't need to struggle like this. I didn't come into this world alone. And once you realize you didn't come here alone and you're not alone, everything wakes up and you don't struggle with this anymore. You enjoy the ride. It's not that it's always easy, but you always have guidance. You're never alone. They're always there with you. Even when you think that there's no hope at all, there is. Get out of the panic. Quit taking things personally. That's the key to this. If you're bottled up with anxiety, you slammed the door closed and they can't reach you, all right? You gotta let that stuff up. You can't be a stress monster and expect your guides to be able to reach you. It's total resistance if that's what you're doing.
Okay, let's move on to this next interesting thing you said. Toward the end there, you said you become so much more than you were just the day before. So I thought that was pretty cool. Become more than you were the day before. It's kind of like a mantra. 2 questions. What does that mean? And how do you measure it?
Okay, to become more than you were the day before. You know how you get that? You do something. You get this guidance, this information, this brilliant idea that you thought came from you. It didn't come from you. Okay, it came through you. And you captured it. You didn't miss it that time, all right? So you've got that great information. And take me back to that, trigger me one more time, Ray. Come on.
You become more than you were the day before.
Stop. You become more than you were. Okay, so you act on it, and it's just magic. And it just seems so easy when you just let it, it comes through, you act on it, it works out, your life is easier. It's way, way, way past easier, all right? You learn what worked. You sat back and you didn't panic and you listened and you harnessed that information with your intuition and off you went. And I guarantee you didn't go in the direction everyone else was going. You went this way. They all went that way. You went over here. And they kind of looked at you, the ones going over here kind of looked at you like, Some of them laughed at you. Some of them did whatever. But you were so busy focusing on where you were guided to go and intrigued by the adventure, by the journey, that you were on your way. That's where you were heading. So back to the...
How do you measure it?
Okay. Before that, again?
What does that mean? You become more than you were the day before.
Okay, that's what
How
I
do you
mean.
measure
What I mean, I'm going to finish the first part of that. How do you know you became more than the day before?
Right.
From taking an action like that while everybody else, the crowd, was going in a whole different direction? How do you know that you became more? You know when you became more when you're moving in this direction and you keep moving and it's like the urge that's pulling you there. It's like you can't help but go there. And along the way, you learn this and you experience that and you meet this person. And all of a sudden, the people that are going this way, that you used to be going the same way before you got this guidance, you used to be doing the same things that they did. You were working for the same company. You were doing all the same. You over here, you're splitting off. You're going wider and wider and wider, and you're more intrigued over here. You look back over at them walking this way. They haven't even lifted their heads. They're just moving this way. And you go, wow, I used to be with them. Over here, you're looking back and you're going, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't keep going that way. This has worked out so well for me. I've learned so much. Not only am I going in a better direction, I'm making more money. I'm happier with my life. I want to wake up in the morning and go to work. I like the people I work with. I like who I'm becoming. I like how this has changed me. I like what I learned. That's what I mean by you become more. You become more as you begin. You got to take and you got to launch yourself off. You got to trust the guidance. You've got to act on it. You've got to keep on. You got to stay steady and focused over here. No matter what they're saying over here or thinking over here, you got to stay true to yourself over here. You will see what I'm talking about. It may take a little while. It won't happen the first day, but it could. Okay, anything can happen, but it takes time to make fine wine. So let yourself venture out. Now, the second part to that?
Yeah, so by taking action right away on your intuition or your guidance, that automatically becomes your default situation. That's just a habit you get into. I get intuition, I get guidance, I do something to move toward it. Whether it's I think about it for an hour or I call up real estate agents when I sell my house. Okay, so that becomes your default situation every time you get guidance. You do something right away. Now, that's how you become different or better the next day.
That is how.
That's how you measure it. It's a feeling.
Your truth center is called a truth center because it doesn't lie. All right? And that's where this urge, this guidance comes through that you just can't, you know that you want to do that. All right? You know it. Why would you stay here? You'd stay here because it appears to be safe. It appears to be consistent, a place where you're familiar with it. It doesn't mean it's the best path for you. But because you've been on it so long, you're afraid, you're insecure about stepping into this over here and letting yourself explore and follow that urge that you want to, there where you want to go, not where you feel obligated to go.
That's right. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so that's where that's at. Okay, you guys.
I have an announcement to make.
What?
I'm out of brilliant questions.
Well, that covered it really well.
Yeah, I think that was very good.
Ray, you did a great job of that. And you guys, do we have any questions from anybody that...
We have some comments. Larry Kelly says he's last learned that he has 4 guides. The message basically said, you are ready, the door is open for questions and answers. Sometimes he just gets letters that start, and then he can understand the answer before the words are formed.
Right, that's good, that's good.
Larry's using his board.
Okay, that's blocks of information.
Right. And pretty soon it'll come down to streams.
Right.
Okay, and very similar to Ray. LOL, Larry, you are the best. That's some of the things they're telling him. Just start my journaling. That's good.
Who did? Now, who
Larry.
Started? Just start his journaling. Oh, good.
He's learning so much from both of us, and my guys, thanks to you, more than you'll ever know.
Okay, Larry, and be sure, is Larry still on with us?
Yeah.
Okay, Larry, be sure to go, when you go to the lindadeir.com website, click on the blog, right? And when you get to the blog page, on the right, under categories, you're going to see My Guided Journey. And that's where we have archived all the videos for part 2, page 1 through 18. Of course, we won't be on 17 until next Thursday. then we'll be finished with these the following Thursday. So these are almost done for you guys. Go there, and before you start writing in any one of those pages, watch the video that we did, that go back where Ray interviews me and I talk about the subject matter, so you can really get your head around it. Another thing, before you start writing in your journal, because you really want to go back to what really happened there. Not the drama and the trauma of what happened back there, not the fear and the victim. That's all from this world. I'm talking about the truth, what you knew, and who you are, okay? From that perspective, along with the guidance that's always so clear and to the point that you bring through. From that, you write in your journal what you remember, not from this world, because this world is where you got off track. It's once you get this together and you tell it from the truth, from the clarity and knowingness and inspiration from your guides, they were there when you went through it. You write it from, and you write in here like you're writing it with your guides right here, because they were there when you went through all these different stages that knocked you off your course, all right? You write it in there. And some people have they've said that, Linda, starting with page 1, fear, and starting that young in my life, I blocked it out. I can't remember. I can't do it. I can't. I tell them, go through the journal. Start at page 10 or 14 or something, and start there and go back to page 1, fear. By the time you get to that early part of your life, you will remember it. You won't block it. It won't be so hard to overcome. You will have seen what moved you into that corner, what started this whole thing out. So you can start like that too, all right? But you will unearth this. This hidden knowledge will come out. So, Larry, we're so glad that you're working with the journal. In November, Ray and I are going to start working with you all who have been working with the journal to work with you on wherever you are that you want more insight into. And we're going to help you one-on-one with that right here on Thursdays. All right?
Can't wait.
All right.
So next Thursday, same time, same place, we'll be here, and we'll be on part 2, page 17.
Part 2, page 17.
And what is that page?
What is it, Ray?
We've been waiting for you to be ready.
That's right. And we are the guides. The guides have been waiting for you to be ready. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week. It starts getting real good. You guys did the hard work in the early years, because that's where you had to really go back and look at it. And some of it wasn't so easy. And that's where we came in vulnerable and really innocent. And that's where we got thrown off our course right there. So next week, same place, same time, we hope to see you back.
And here's a commercial. I know most of the people that show up for these Tuesday or Thursday Facebook Lives have read Guided.
Right.
If you haven't left a review for Guided, would you please leave a review?
From where you bought it. That would be really appreciated.
Amazon or Audible.
Thank you. And just one last thing. My Guided Journey is a free download on the lindadeir.com website. Just go there on the homepage. It's on the right. Free download, My Guided Journey. There's a little video, and you download it, and it's free. So make sure you get that. And the reason it was created for primarily the readers of Guided, who through the thousands of fan mail and social media responses and coaching sessions that I've done with the readers of Guided, with their own spirit guides and angels, they have asked me questions that they were serious about making contact with their guides and clearing this out so they don't block it anymore. Voila. That's how this came about. So this came about like the mother of necessity is the mother of invention. That's what this is. So guided changes lives. My Guided Journey restores lives. That's what we have here. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so I have written a series of videos in support of the readers of my guided journey, the companion journal to my flagship book, Guided. Each week on Facebook Live, I talk about your journey back to the beginning when you first made contact with your spirit guides and angels. They haven't gone anywhere even when you ignored them or didn't realize they were there. In these Thursday Facebook Live videos with me, you learn how to journal your hidden knowledge, documenting your life journey, revealing who you really are and why you are here. When you follow this, you will not only get your life back, but you will never doubt yourself again. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.